Hi.
Oh.
Hi everybody. If you don't know, let me tell you. That's Luke Wallens. I'm Shannon Stott.
Mm-hmm.
And if you weren't paying attention to the intro, this is improv on and off the topic. Big T.
Yeah.
All right. That's what we're gonna call it from now on.
Big T.
Big T, no wine.
Oh. Oh.
Oh, I said no wine. We can't
No
no
whining.
wine.
Okay. All right. Yes. No whining. Yeah.
No whining. Listen, this is what we do. It's so fun. I'm sitting here, Luke. We might have to stall a little bit because
Okay.
I had a whole maybe we don't have to stall too long. I had a whole thing that goes across the thing, and today it's gone. Gone. But I
Oh.
do remember what it was about. And it was about this. The idea that because this month our theme is navigation. and the idea that sometimes we have to take control from others, whether that's in our lives, on or off the stage, right, in our lives or in a scene. And I was thinking about that. You know what, I'm going to share with you. I went to visit my 90-year-old grandfather, who is in Pennsylvania. He used to be the mayor of Brownsville, Pennsylvania. I know he's a
Ooh.
cool dude. Fought in the in a war, in one of the big ones that we're like, oh, nobody fighting that war, or nobody fighting war. You know what? We're not going to talk about war. Listen, he was in Vietnam, Vietnam vet, and just as long as I have known him, control over himself, control, and still has control over himself, is a very active man, also 90, right?
Yeah.
And okay, so here's the tiny story. So all that about my grandfather. We're walking, me, my mom, my grandfather, we're all walking down this humongous hill to get to his other house, right? We're walking down this humongous hill, and my mom says, somebody get next to granddad so you can help him down the hill. And he says, why? And my mom was like, to help you. He to help you down. He's like, who says I need any help? And it was so interesting, Luke, because we were there for what, 2 days, maybe 2 days, just visiting. But he lives with himself, and his wife. He lives together all the time. And it's funny, this idea, getting back to when to take control,
Yeah.
or how to know. If someone doesn't want to give you control, that's one thing. And then also, if you see that it doesn't matter that they don't want to give it to you, you still need to take it. Like, what are we navigating here? Like, we're navigating a lot of stuff. Anyway, so
Yeah.
let's talk about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that reminds me of, like, I used to work at a nonprofit for people with disabilities, and we would always, like, like, one of the big things that we had, was helping them create art and to work on visual art. And we would, when we always had, like, volunteers come in, we would have them, we tell them, like, hey, don't do the art for them. Have them
Mm.
do the art, and then if they need some help, then give them supplies and all that stuff. But don't do the art for them. However, like, me, us, or me saying that, like, is a good guideline, but at the same time, it's all about finding that level, and working on that relationship with them, because if you've never worked with another person who's creating art, it's like finding that balance. Because, like, some clients, like, that we had, were, like, completely independent. They didn't need anything. They just needed to chat with somebody. Whereas other times, there was sometimes a learned helplessness aspect, but like, oh,
Ooh.
no, 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 you can do it. They need the encouragement and be like, hey, like let's take little steps here and there to create this artwork. Um, and so or there was mobility issues that like that we needed to learn and to share and to be like, hey, this person may need help reaching something on a higher shelf.
Mhm.
um, they drop something that they need to be picked up. Um, so things like that. But it was all a balance of trust,
Yeah.
and figuring it out. So yeah.
There's a game that we play in improv called Story Tag,
Hmm.
and you line up, one person behind the other, right? And the person in front starts to tell a story that's never been told. Once upon a time, there was a boy who really loved strawberries. Every day he picked strawberries, whatever. And you just keep telling the story. And at
Hmm.
any time, the person behind you can tag you out and you go to the back of the line and they pick up where you left off or where they tagged you out. And it's a very interesting balance, exactly
Yeah.
what you're
Yeah.
talking about, right? This feeling of, okay, well, one, the person in front is an improviser. So they're going to talk for a while, right? They're just going to sort of keep
Hmm.
talking. But there's going to be a spot where you've got to save them, right? You've got to sort of step in. That's maybe, because maybe they can keep talking forever. Also, you need to step in. Like people
Hmm.
behind you need to step in. So you need this balance of, okay, what what does the story need, right? What does the art need? In your case, like what
Yeah.
does the art maybe need? How is the person that is in charge or that is right now carrying the piece, how are they doing? Are they doing okay? What's my role as the person standing behind them or the person assisting? What's my role? Like, when do I step in? Do I need to step in? Like, maybe I want to step in. Maybe it's fun. I want to
Yeah.
participate in this art. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, it is a very delicate balance of creating something together
Hmm.
and really recognizing the other person and when they need help,
Yeah.
and when it's okay for you to step in and help them.
Hmm.
It's like, yeah, what so let's talk about that a little bit, because
Yeah.
there's a feeling, even because even
Hmm.
in the helping of, like, don't do it for them,
Right.
is there a conversation that happens,
Yeah, yeah. There's a conversation that can happen. And it does happen. Sometimes it's like it's bridged between the instructor as the moderator, for the
Mhm.
volunteer and for the client.
Mhm.
Most often that's the case because like every client is completely different, so we have to make sure that like everyone's accommodated for. Um um but yeah, like I mean, and sometimes there's just like like after a while you don't have to have that conversation every time, be like you know and you kind of be like, oh, this person, they need supplies but then they're fine, or
Mhm.
but that happens over time.
Yeah.
um and like, yeah. And with in like drama therapy, like there's all the time, like sometimes you're helping another, like within the group, you may be creating different challenges or obstacles, for someone else to work through and to but at the same time, you don't know like the depth of it or anything like that. You're just getting to know somebody. So usually, we start out very simply and very, like, okay, if there's a challenge with like, um, with confidence, there may be
Mm.
a word that's like that can be agreed upon in the group, that would be an obstacle, being like insecurity, and and like imposing that out and like figuring that out. Whereas like if you knew the person better, there may be some other triggers that you would want to avoid, or maybe like to work with, to like help them figure out ways to navigate past insecurity to get to a more confident sense of self. Yeah.
That makes me think of helping. I'm thinking of like two separate situations. One where you are a friend, and one where you are a boss, like
Yeah.
a supervisor. And because what you're talking about is how well you know the person and how little of a conversation you can have to navigate. You said some triggers, things that
Mhm.
could pop up for them. And as a supervisor or a boss, sometimes we don't know what it is that our employee or our team needs,
Mhm.
and you've got to like get them to do the work.
Yeah.
They have to
Yeah.
do the work because you can't do it for them. And
Yeah.
so there's this like the same give and take, and like almost more give, like as in, okay, I'm gonna give you the the how of navigating this particular system. I'm just gonna sort of back up and let you do it. And if you have questions, let me know. Whereas in a friendship, sometimes you know your friend so well, you know what they need, you know what they like, you know how to care for them, and you want to take the wheel from them, and you do, and it's either okay or it isn't. But there
Yeah.
is this, yeah, this like very delicate balance of knowledge, sort of figuring out how how what the relationship is. There, I got there.
Yeah.
Because you got
Yeah. Yeah.
like, what
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
your relation? I am movie today. I am movie. Um what the relationship is, whether
Mhm.
that's whether you're a boss or a friend or whatnot. But on the
Yeah.
improv stage, like how well do you know the people you're playing with? Can you even, if we're sticking with that one game, like,
Mhm.
do you have to stand in line? Maybe you can be at the very back of the line and still
Yeah.
tag the person in the very front, right? Because of relationship.
Mhm.
Yeah, I there's something about, and it's like unmentionable, sort of. It's ethereal. It's
Yeah.
ethereal.
Yeah.
It's not underwear. It's not our unmentionables. It's my underwear. Like having a conversation, we're like, well, think about it like underwear. It's more ethereal, and the ethereal is the feeling, right?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
like, you have to feel out what is needed from your partners or your employees or your
Mhm.
friends or whatever relationship you're in.
Yeah.
Some of it is done by feel and not by
Yeah. Yeah.
recap.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And like, whenever I come into, if I'm a new person into the situation, like I always try to like, feel out,
Mhm.
right, and be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna see if I can anticipate moves and see if I can, like, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, and when you're like, in sync with somebody else and when you're not.
Mhm.
um and it just reminds me like of, I've had this conversation a lot over the past couple of years, with various friends and in relationships, and I've used it myself, with like, if I have something that I just need to get off my chest, like, sometimes I need to define it, about like, hey, I'm just venting versus I'm looking for advice, like,
Ooh.
like I'm just, I need you to listen versus like, I'm asking a question.
Mhm.
And like, it's a very subtle difference, but at the same time, sometimes I get triggered about like, man, like I don't want to know what I should do or shouldn't do about the situation. I just wanted to tell you because I need to get off my chest. I need to
Because
talk
I
it
need to
out.
get off my chest.
Yeah.
This is a good time to say, because Luke has been telling me, hey, make sure you talk to our our journeyers. Journeyers,
Yeah.
if you have things to tell us, if you're like, hey, I'm really resonating with that. this is how that shows up for me. To put it in the chat and we can talk
Mm-hmm.
directly to you because we're live. And if we're not live by the time you see this, we'll still talk directly to you. So tell us how you're doing with taking navigation, taking the wheel from someone else and navigating for them. And this part we're about to get to, when to give it back, right?
Mm-hmm.
When to give it back. And should I take it in the first place? I like this when to give it back part because I get
Yeah.
really on stage once. First off, there's a space, right, where you can see, okay, that person is struggling, and you jump in.
Yeah.
And maybe you jump in and you sort of build up the thing around them, whatever it is, scene paint or help them navigate to the next thing. And now it's like, well, I want it. now
Yeah.
I want it. And this, oh my gosh, I'm about to just jump into this tangent. I was listening to a podcast about organ donors,
Mm-hmm.
right? And people who, it was a conversation basically about the release that you have to have over, okay, I'm going to jump in, help this person navigate, as in I'm going to give them my organ, and then you have to release that organ. You're like, as in it's
Yeah.
in their territory now, it's in their bodies, and they can move through the world the way they want with your lung, heart, liver,
Kidney.
whatever it is that you gave them.
You know,
And you have no say. You have
yeah.
no say.
Yeah. Oh. Oh boy. Yeah. Now I'm thinking about like, okay, giving a kidney. Like, what would
And
that mean?
what does that mean?
Yeah.
And there's something, I know that is like, but we're talking on and off
Well,
the stage here, right?
yeah.
Because on stage, what we're practicing is that we're practicing this idea that
Mm-hmm.
this is a shared thing, but it's not all like, and by thing, I mean scene, right? Or game or whatever, but it's not always shared. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it's Luke's.
Yeah.
And Luke got on stage. Luke has an idea, and maybe he needs some help sort of scrubbing up that idea or making it reality, but it can still be Luke's idea, and it doesn't have, I can get the heck out of there.
Yeah. Like it just comes back to like one, like coming to the terms of like leap of faith, and trust, and like being like, okay, I'm gonna trust you with this thing. But it's also like, yeah, once like it's given up. I'm gonna go for the kidney. Once the kidney is given up, then it's like, okay, well, yeah, like you had said that, like it's scary to be like, oh well, that it's not in my body anymore. It's theirs, it's like they're, and it's I help support this way, and finding some kind of resolve, I guess,
Ooh.
about like, okay, like the power dynamic has shifted again. So it's
Mhm.
like, okay, how do I come back down about like, okay, that's happened, and what do I need to do um to replace that void of energy? Like how do I redirect? And I think it comes back to, coming back to, um like seeing what they do with it, seeing,
Mhm.
like, keeping in touch, you know and then also like, like you say for example that you were driving the story in an improv setting, and then all of a sudden, give it back to another person to drive the story, like, still coming back to being like, okay, I'm sharing the leadership, this, like, and so this person is driving the story. If there's anything that I can see that I can help navigate, and help them navigate towards, um, but I think it comes back to being, um, like, like supporting the other person,
Mhm.
rather than, like, like having more energy towards your drive, I guess.
Idea. It's mm.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
we're so trained as
Yeah.
improvisers to think about the collaboration
Yeah.
part, right? And to go back to what you're talking about with, don't do the art for them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like as
Yeah.
far as clients go, it when we are on stage and we have this mentality of this is about all of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
I deserve a moment. I want part of the thing that you're bringing.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Yeah.
it only comes up every like once a
Yeah.
month.
Yeah. Right.
But it's like you are correct. And there is also room for the other person or for another person or two
Yeah.
other people to completely have it.
Mm-hmm.
And you, oh my gosh, and you not to do anything.
Yeah.
I was teaching a class today and we were doing the counting game
Oh
where
yeah.
people, 1, 2, 3, anybody in the room can say a number. And if two people say a number at the same time, you start at the beginning. And we played for a while, did great. It was fine. At the very end, when we're debriefing, I asked what people took away. And this woman said, saying being silent is participating. And I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can't say it better myself. And when we're talking about this, right? Like, all right, how do we know when it's time? How do we know when to give it back? How do we know if it's time for us to take it in the first place? It's taking taking direction or knowing, how about that? Knowing when to take over can be a matter of just being quiet, right?
Yeah.
Like not stepping into the scene at all, not doing anything at all, not taking any action, and just waiting and seeing. Maybe they'll ask for help. Maybe they'll because when people step on stage and they'll be like, John, get in here,
Yeah.
like that's an ask, a cry, a literal cry for help,
Right.
like
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yeah.
But sometimes the help that you can give is just like to be there, to show up, and to shishy dishy.
Yeah. Yeah. With couple things. Oh yeah. So with drama therapy, like there's sometimes where it's just a scene of a couple people and everyone else is witness to it, and then can give feedback afterwards and reflect on it and everything like that. And it's needed because these people need to sort out a certain situation as their characters, to figure out some new ways. And so when you take that step back and when you are silent and observing, you're still there. You're still, it's like actively listening. You're still there. Um, and and you're still giving, energy. It's just a passive way about going about it. And there was another thing. But oh yeah, this brought up the question about how do we know when it's time, when to give it back, and if we should take it in the first place. It comes back to the common goal of the group. Is everyone still on the same page, or has it driven off into one person's idea the whole time, and that person not uh, releasing and getting and not getting rid of their expectations. Well, maybe getting rid of the expectations of what they think is going to happen with it, but more about like, are they agreeing with what the group is creating together?
Yeah. That's a big, when we do this thing, jumping in, and we help to steer, we do change the dynamic, right? And now our fingerprint is on that thing.
Yeah, that's great.
But our job, or the job that we're here to do, is to be flexible, right? Is to be flexible. So, okay, great. I helped you. Going back to my granddad, I guess, sure, like I can be there. I'm trying to get back. What am I trying to say? I can, like, later. How about that? Maybe my thought of how I help is going to be different than his thought, right? But putting my thought in there isn't a bad thing. But then what you're saying, Luke, is, yeah, put your thought, how to help, great. But then you got to release it back so that he can live his life the way he wants to live it. And then when you come back to say, like, okay, well, I'm back now, like, I'm going to go back to Texas, and now I'm back and it's my way. No. We have to look at what the story exactly. What does the group want? What does granddad want? How has he incorporated the help that you gave into his life? Yeah. And now how can you get back in there that way, not the old way, or not with your new thoughts, new fandangled like thoughts, but like, what is the way that you can help the story, your friend, the client do what they are doing?
And it just reminds me of like, music structure, about like, at the beginning, you got the song, you got like the chord that it starts off with and everything like that, and you need everyone's individual parts to make that chord happen. But once that chord is set, and the meters there and everything like that, that's when you can like back off, because and go back and forth and be more playful about it, because what's happening, about what the shared song is.
What that rhythm is. What's the rhythm? Where are we going? What's the story? What's the tune? Right? What's the genre? Right? This is a hip hop song. We are singing. We are hip hopping, right? And you're coming in with your opera. I mean, maybe.
Like,
But is that what we're all doing right now?
It's like,
there's this idea of, like, okay, what about taking it from someone? How do we know when it's time? We talked a little bit about just being quiet, watching, seeing, having conversation, but also what is the energy in the room, in the scene, how to tell you when it's time to jump in, and when to give it back. Like, this is really about sharing, right? Like, it's not always about you. It's not always about you and your thought and what you want. Like, even when it's your liver, even when it's your liver, it's not always about what you want to happen with your liver. Right, it's about what they want to do with your liver.
And but once again, you can always keep in contact with them and like be like, hey, how's our liver now?
How is our liver? How are you doing? You can pop into that scene and be like, everything okay here? Yeah, we've got it. Great.
Let me know if you need anything. So
holler. There's a talent. There is some sort of talent in that give and take. Just sort of yes, I want to help, but once I do, however you take that help isn't up to me. And there has to be some sort of release, so that you can do that well.
Yeah. Sounds like teaching.
It sounds like It sounds like teaching. You got to teach. You got to receive. You have to learn. Teaching and learning. All right. Friends, family, journeyers. We've talked. I've loved this. I
Me
hope,
too.
go put in the comments how much you've loved this. Go ahead and tell me. and also tell Luke and I how you are dealing with taking some control or taking over somebody's steering wheel and navigating for someone else, and how you're dealing with releasing that navigation, giving that control back into the world. Because I tell you what, man, these are getting harder. They're getting a little harder. Whether you're navigating in your life, or navigating for yourself, or navigating for someone else, you're always navigating on and
off the stage.
Bye.